Hello everyone, this is Gage from Gondorian Smith, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys another Third Age Reforged online multiplayer battle replay, and this one is a 3 vs 3 on the frozen lake bed once again. Normally I would not upload another battle on the same map one after the other like this, however this one is extremely close and has a really epic comeback at the end, so that is why I'm going to be uploading this one right now. But anyway, I'm going to be playing as Rune today, not a faction that I usually play, but they are still very good. I've got a couple units here of the Eastron Hunters. These guys are really poor foot archers, however the main reason I brought them was just to bring a little bit of a skirmish presence as well as attract a lot of arrows, because while they do have very bad armor, there are 203 of them in the unit, so they can actually waste a lot of enemy arrows. For my infantry, I've got one unit of the Loke Scion Rim on either side just to kind of ward off any enemy cavalry, as well as provide a nice line here, because the Loke Scion Rim are extremely capable spears. For my other frontline units, I've got 3 units of the AP Loke Gamp Rim Halberds. These guys are extremely good and can hold the line for a very long time. Behind them, I've got a couple more skirmishers. I've got 2 units of the Balkoth Tribesmen Javelins. These guys are poor in melee, of course, and have bad armor, but they are very deadly if allowed to fire their javelins. Behind them, I've also got 1 unit of the Eastron crossbows here with 1 armor upgrade. These guys are just basically back here to try to shoot down any enemy cav that does decide to try to sneak its way around my back lines. And behind them, I've got 3 units of the Loke Flag Rim Heavy Infantry. These guys are, of course, AP because they are Mason Shield Infantry. However, because they do have maces, they are relatively low on skill, but that still shouldn't be too much of a worry here because the enemy I am facing does not have a lot of skill anyway. I don't mean the player, I mean the actual units. Yeah, AP should do very well for themselves. Also, they're very heavily armored. However, they are very vulnerable to cavalry charges, just like most sword and shield infantry units. For my own cavalry, I've got 1 unit here of the Kamul's Dragon Knights for my general's bodyguard. This did cost me 1,500 florins, but they are extremely deadly. I've got 2 units, I believe, also of the Eastron, no, just 1 unit actually, of the Eastron Clan Chiefs. These guys are good mainly because I don't think they're actually AP, but they do have an effectiveness against enemy cavalry, so that should be very useful. I've got 2 units of the Variag Mercenary Riders, who are, of course, horse archers here to also just harass the enemy. And because I had a little bit of extra money, I also had 1 more unit of, or I also brought 1 unit of Loke Innos Rim instead of another unit of Clan Chiefs. These guys are, of course, heavy cav, so they're very slow, but they are very deadly off the charge, if not super great against enemy cavalry. Over here we are going to see my enemy. We have got Thorn commanding the army of Mordor. He's got a couple units here of the Mordor archers who, as you can see, are already beginning to fire on my lines. He's got 2 units on either side of Mordor infantry, as well as 2 units of the Orc fodder backing up 2 units of Mordor halberds, so the AP should do well against my heavily armored forces. For his general, he has got 1 unit of the Minas Morgul bodyguard, and you can see that Gothmog is actually the officer of that unit right there, so that is very cool. He also has 2 units of the Orc Javelins, who once again will do very well against my heavily armored forces. Surprisingly, he only has 1 unit of the Black Legion of Barad-dûr. Honestly, it might have been a better idea to bring 2, just because facing Rune, there are always going to be a lot of those AP halberds. He's got the Olaghai, who are probably the best troll unit in the game, extremely deadly, but also very expensive. He's also got 2 units of the Minas Morgul Chosen on either side. He also has 1 unit here of the Temple Executioners with their armor upgrade, very deadly and very cool looking. He's also got 1 unit of the AP Orc Maulers, and for his cavalry he has got, or there's Chosen as well as another unit of Orc fodder, but anyway, for his cavalry he has got 1 unit of the Temple Inquisitors, who are of course very deadly anti-cav units, and he's also got 1 unit of the Numenorian Lancers, who are of course AP cavalry. But again, Mordor actually is a very interesting faction. They're kind of a nice, well-rounded faction, because against certain factions, especially Rune, who doesn't have a strong skirmish presence, they actually can stand to just do a prolonged skirmish engagement, or they can also rush very effectively, so we'll have to see what he decides to do. But anyway, we can now go to the first of my allies over here, who is deployed right next to me. We have got Mech Lengo, so he's going to be commanding an army of Cardalin here, which is a nice pick because, honestly, even after all their changes, there still aren't a ton of Cardalin players, so it is definitely always nice to see them played. He's got 3 units here of the Greenwatch Garrison Footmen. These guys are, of course, very light pikes, but as long as they set up their positions quickly, or in time anyway, they should do quite well for themselves. He's also got 3 units of the Greenwatch Garrison Spears here to protect them from any incoming arrows. He's got 1 unit of the Minas Garithalin Archers. He's got 2 units of the Greenwatch Garrison Archers. He's got 1 unit of the Gwathlo Trackers around here somewhere as well. He's got 1 unit here of the Minotaur Roman Guardians, a very deadly crossbow unit. And he also has 1 unit of the Minuscule Sharpshooters back there. He's got 2 units of the Aaronvorn Axes. Honestly, against his enemy, AP isn't going to be extremely helpful, but it should still do alright. He's got 1 unit of the Dunedain Captains here. These guys are going to be very effective at their jobs. He's got... Actually, I think that is where his general is as well. He also has 1 unit here of the Tharbad Warhammers. Again, AP isn't going to be super useful against his enemy. However, they do look very, very cool. There's his other Green Watch Garrison archers. But anyway, for his cavalry, he has got 2 units, I think, of the... No, just 1 unit, rather, of the Tharbad Riders here, which is, of course, an AP Lancer unit. He's got 1 unit of the Royal Court of House of the Rondor for his general. You can see Gandalf the Grey, I believe, right there is the officer. And for the rest of his cav, he's got 2 units of the Mercenary Cavalry that has been fully upgraded with 1 armor upgrade and 1 attack upgrade. For our final ally, we have got Spartan 104 commanding the Realm of Mirkwood. He's got 2 units of Here EX Spearmen, as well as 1 unit of Thandrim E. Aaron. He's got 3 units of the Here E. Oth, 2 units of Here E. Pang, and he has got a lot of cavalry, and you will see why pretty shortly here. He's got 1 unit of the IRR Brennan E. Nanwaith for his general. That is, of course, the elite cavalry unit that Mirkwood can bring. He's got 2 units of the Anti-Cav Roic Ben Aman Lank. He's also got 2 units of the Dangmirim Yerki Aaron. I'm sorry about the pronunciation. These guys are basically just horse archers. And he also has 2 units here of the Thurn E. Tar, who are, of course, also light foot archers. And his enemy is actually going to be Rohan here, and this is going to be commanded by Engsfitz, and he's going to be using the pretty standard, I guess, Rohan army. Unfortunately, for pitch battles, it seems like Rohan always brings the exact same army, pretty much no matter the player, but still, it is a very, very effective army nevertheless. He's got 2 units here of the Riddermark Archers being given support here by these Eastmark Spearmen just to prevent any cavalry charges into their front. He's got 2 units of the Helmingoths, he's got 2 units of the Awen's Shield Maidens, and for his front line he's got 3 units, it looks like, maybe 4 of the Riddermark Spearmen. So these guys should do pretty good at warding off any enemy cavalry, as well as the fact that these guys will be able to weather arrows better than, say, the Riddermark axes that are also sometimes brought in the stead of these spears. For his cavalry, he has got 2 units of the Riddermark skirmishers here. These guys also have been given a nice new unit model. Also, they are extremely deadly for a number of reasons. Not only do they have AP javelins, but they are also AP, maybe even off the charge, because they do actually pull out 2-handed axes. So they are extremely deadly and extremely versatile as well. He's got 1 unit of the Red Shield of Erkenbrand, which is of course a hybrid between a horse archer and a melee cav. He's got 2 units of the AP Arid of Aldberg, and he's also got over here 1 unit of the Sons of Aoril for his general, and 1 unit of the 1st Marshal's Bodyguard as well. Actually, this might be his, yeah, actually his general is in the 1st Marshal's Bodyguard, I think. Not quite, yeah, that's the case. But anyway, that'll pretty much do it for his army, so we can now go to the final army, which is going to be Harad, commanded by new player 195. He's got the Black Serpent Bodyguards, he's got 1 unit of the Standard Serpent Guard, he's also got 2 units of cavalry up here, that being the Haradrim Raiders, who are of course horse archers, and 1 unit of the AP South Rhine Lancers. These guys aren't super great as Lancers, mainly just because of the fact that since they have light armor, they can get skirmished down very quickly, but as long as you keep them away from skirmishers, they can still be very deadly off the charge. He's got 2 units of the Muhad Beast Hunters is what they're called, yes. Those are, of course, the Javelins. He's got 1 unit of the Champions of Nafrat, which actually that is where his general is, it looks like. So it's got 1 unit of the Demons of the Desert, who are an extremely deadly Javelin unit, because I believe they actually have body-piercing Javelins, which is not a very common trait at all. For his infantry, he's got 4 units here of the Haradrim Spears, he's got 1 unit of the AP Southron Warband, and he's got 3 units of the Dismounted Serpent Guard. You can see these guys are just using the standard model. That looks pretty nice, but then you come over here, look at his other 2 units of Dismounted Serpent Guard, and just look at the absolutely stunning upgrade that is given to these guys once you give them an armor upgrade. So they look very nice. For his archers, he's got 2 units, I believe, of the Southern Archers and 1 unit of the Haradrim Archers, but that will pretty much do it for the army comps, so we will go ahead and get into the replay itself. Definitely want to, I guess I could leave it at 1 speed for now. But anyway, because me and Lengo did actually deploy so close to each other, I was actually able to deploy all of my cavalry just on that one side, which I was actually happy about, because that would also mean that Mordor would not be able to attack me from this flank either. Anyway, you can see my Eastron Hunters are all firing, the Minas-Garithlin archers are not doing anything. And this was honestly a little bit of an interesting tactic, honestly. Spartan decided that he wanted to not really face Rohan immediately, I guess, because he decided to actually run pretty much his entire army over directly behind both myself and Lango, mostly Lango, which is honestly a little bit weird, but we'll have to see how it works out, because Rohan is going to just have an absolute field day if Engsfits, as Rohan is going to be able to have a field day in our back lines if he is allowed to get his lancers back there, so we have to be very careful of that. So Mirkwood's going to have to be extremely careful. But anyway, you can see Mordor is actually rushing me, which is very cool to see, because Mordor can actually either rush or just try to skirmish the enemies down. They are actually very versatile in that fact. I've got my cavalry back there. I was not going to try to charge into those Minas Morgul Chosen because those are, of course, spears. But anyway, you can see he's got some orc fodder. He's got his halberds pushing forward. He's also got his Black Legion of Barad-dûr there. I'm using my Eastron crossbows to try to target a few of these Olaghai, just to try to shave off a few of their hit points because of how deadly they are. So we can take a look around here. You can see the orc fodder. Oh, that's not good. The orc fodder going in first. Oh, just got instantly lagging, so I'm going to slow it down a bit. But yeah, the orc fodder and the Mordor infantry, as well as some halberds, are now coming into the fight. Looks like the Minas Morgul Chosen are going to go over there and attack my Loke Signrim, so that's a nice spear versus spear battle. The Mordor halberds versus the Loke Gamprim, I would assume. Yeah, I'm going to think the Gamprim will win that fight. I've got my javelins. Unfortunately, I left them on skirmish mode by accident, so I'm going to have to run them back here pretty quickly. Over here with my cavalry. Unfortunately, my horse archers apparently did not like to listen to me. So this unit has been completely taken out by spears, javelins, and by the Temple Inquisitors. So yeah, that was unfortunate. But I also was able to get all of my lancers around the back as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get some nice charges off into their archers with all three of my AP lancers. I was also going to try to get after some of those Temple Executioners because I know how deadly they are. Yeah, right here, the Númenórean lancers caught out by all my cavalry right there will suffer heavy losses. And over here, oof. The Olaghai managed to charge straight into my Loke Signrim, so I'm going to go ahead and I actually believe I committed all three of my units of Flagrim because things were getting a little bit hairy. And I definitely decided to commit my Flagrim over on this side with the Olaghai because the AP is definitely going to help. You can see my poor Signrim are just getting beat down by those Olaghai, being backed up by some Orc Maulers and some Mordor infantry. And right here you can see spots that of my Gamprim that are actually starting to really get thin way faster than I thought. Minas Morgul Bodyguard are about to be committed. The Black Legion of Barad-dûr, fortunately for me, was actually not able to push immediately through, so I actually am being able to empty all of my javelins directly into these Black Legion of Barad-dûr. You can see already 50 of them have fallen. Yeah, because they actually hadn't pushed through quite yet, and because they were still kind of sticking out, I was able to throw pretty much all of my javelins straight into those Black Legion. However, unfortunately, it was not soon enough because you can see the Black Legion is even still pushing directly through my lines here. However, the javelins are still constantly firing, so the Black Legion of Barad-dûr are still taking a lot of losses. So if I can get over here. Tharbad Warhammers are giving me some support, or giving my Signrim some support here against the Minas Morgul Chosen. And you can see Harad has actually pushed forward here as well. He's got some dismounted Serpent Guard and spears all crashing against this pike line of Lango. Man, it is getting so laggy. I don't know what is with this all of a sudden. But yeah. Also, Rohan is making his way over here, because, oh, actually, it looks like that's some Mirkwood cavalry that's died. I hadn't even looked in the real battle, but yeah, look at this. Serpent Guard have taken a lot of losses, but it looks like a ton of the Mirkwood cav has been completely taken out, which is very unfortunate. But we will laggily make our way over here. And it looks like Cardlin is really doing a good job. It looks like most of Harad's infantry is really struggling at the moment. But he still does have a ton of javelins as well as cavalry, so he still has some very deadly units left over. Over here on my side, things are getting a little bit closer. The Black Legion was able to push through, like I said, but they have just taken a ton of losses from both crossbows and all my javelins. Let me go ahead and commit my javelins into the fight. Also, most of the cavalry, except for those Temple Inquisitors, has also been taken out by my own, so I'm going to use my Inas Rim, my Dragon Knights, and my Eastern Clan Chiefs just to wreak havoc back here in the back lines. And I try to charge into these Temple Executioners here with my Dragon Knights, because I know how deadly those Temple Executioners really are. And over here, oh, you can see both my Flagrim and my Signrim were just completely butchered by those Olaghai and the Orc Maulers, as well as the Mordor infantry, just proving how deadly the Olaghai are when supported. Over here, I did charge into these Mordor Chosen, but I'm going to try to get them out of there quickly. Just want to try to get some damage, because as of now, they're only being held back by some Eastron Hunters. The Numenor Lancers are also getting targeted by my crossbows there. And yes, some nice charges here from my Dragon Knights, just going to go straight into those into those Temple Executioners and do a huge amount of damage. Over here, the spears are pretty even in the fight, but with the Tharbad Warhammers there, it looks like my forces will win that fight. Over here, Harad is just suffering a lot of losses. However, looks like a lot of the cavalry of Lengo is also taking losses, and over here, Rohan charging straight into these Greenwatch Garrison archers, and again, this is basically what's going to come about of the fact that Mirkwood rushed over to our side. If he had maybe been able to hold Rohan, at least in place for the time, then it would have given myself and Lengo enough time to completely deal with Harad and Mordor. But as it is, Lengo is going to have to try to deal with Harad, and at the same time also help out Spartan against Rohan. You can see he's actually got his mercenary cav there in against the Riddermark Skirmishers. The Riddermark Skirmishers would probably win that fight, but it would be close and deadly for both sides. But yeah, so really just going to be really interesting. Also, I was kind of surprised on the lack of spearmen that Spartan brought, because of the fact that you can actually bring a ton of these Thandrim E. Aaron when playing as Mirkwood. However, oh yeah, there go the Royal Court of House Thorondor, unfortunately, getting taken out by those Serpent Guard. And over on my side, it looks like Mordor's rush is starting to fall apart, especially with the constant charges from my cavalry. Unfortunately, most of my horse archers have been completely taken out, and you can see my Innisrim are taking losses. Also, my clan chiefs are all dead, I believe, so that's not good. But yeah, over here you can see the Minas Morgul Chosen actually going to go into my Eastron crossbows, but that's actually fine because that was actually their very last volley right there into the front of those Minas Morgul Chosen. The Olaghai just still destroying my Flagrim and my Scion Rim, unfortunately, and there's still 5 of them left. Over here, the Executioners are being completely surrounded because of those charges from my cav. Also, the Minas Morgul Bodyguard are getting charged by my Camille's Dragon Knights, and over here, looks like those Minas Morgul Chosen have been routed. And unfortunately for Harad, all of his infantry has been taken out. However, it's going to be really interesting because Harad still has a crap ton of javelins. He has not thrown a single volley on all of his units of javelins. Also over here, Rohan is pretty much unscathed. He's still got all of his archers. Oh, what? No, never mind. He does not have all of his archers.
Now his men will fear us.
But he still does have his javelins, and his spears. So, not... It's still close. Honestly, even though Mordor has been defeated, and even though most of Harad's infantry has been taken out, it's still looking close, mainly because of the javelins, because javelins never, ever should be underestimated. Just they're so deadly. Over here, though, the Sons of Errol actually getting taken out by a lot of the mercenary cavalry here, not being supported, so a lot of those sons are getting taken out. And there goes some of the Merc Cav routing. Over here, we've also got the Ered of Aldburg. Looks like they're going to try to go after the Minotaur Lumen Guardians, but we're stopped by the Thandrim Aaron. See, even the low-tier spears of the elves can still do quite well against cavalry. Aaronborn Axemen looking a little spotty after all those arrows coming in from the Haradrim archers. And over here I'm basically just going to be trying to deal with the last of Mordor's forces, mainly just the Olaghai as well as those spears, and then I'm going to try to take out the archers as well. And unfortunately I lost a micro right here, my Camille's Dragon Knights, so they're going to be taking a few volleys from point blank range here. However, I am going to turn them around and start going after them. Honestly, if Harad or Rohan wanted to gen snipe me right now, they definitely could, mainly because I'm all out of skirmishing power right now. So he could definitely just try to wrap around my cavalry here. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move over to my allies' sides here. I have taken a lot of losses, mainly in my Gamprim and my Flagrim. I think I've only got this unit of Flagrim that's relatively healthy. Also, a lot of my Gamprim have fallen. So while I was able to defeat Mordor, I took a lot of losses in the process. And honestly, what we're doing right now, looking back on it, was definitely a bit of a mistake. I wanted to get closer to the Carlin Pikes just because of how much cavalry Rohan and Harad had left over. But what that really did is it really did blob us up. And against arrows, both myself and Lengo aren't going to take many losses just because of our heavy armor. But the heavy armor is not going to help us at all against javelins. So if Harad and Rohan want to push forward, they could absolutely melt our forces with all of their javelins. And man, just look how dang cool these guys look with their armor upgrades. They look very nice. Demons of the Desert completely healthy, same with the Beast Hunters, as well as the Aewen's Shield Maidens. He's also still got 30 of the Black Serpent Bodyguards. Ered of Aldberg down to 6, and 33 though for the First Marshal's Bodyguard, so that's still very healthy. Sons of Yorlo down to only 11 left, and I think a lot of these skirmishers have been taken out, but also every single unit, I believe, of the Mirkwood Cavalry has been bled dry. You can see they're just dead bodies just slowly stringing out all over the battlefield. However, I do think that Mirkwood actually still has his general's unit around somewhere. Tharbad Riders down to 8. Yeah, I know he's got his general's unit around here somewhere, except I do not know how healthy it may or may not be. Yeah, you can see this is, honestly, yeah, this is probably not a good thing for us to be kind of like squaring up here, honestly. I mean, it's not like a real huge, it's not like a quite a square, because we don't have like spears and pikes all the way around, but we do have infantry around that side. Still though, it's not going to be good for us because of how many javelins they've still got left over. Gonna go ahead and try to pull my Kumul's Dragon Knights back to my own lines, because you can see actually the First Marshal's Bodyguard and some Ered are going to try to go after my knights here, and they are going to catch them just for a second. Let's see if any of them die. They're done 24, so still very healthy. But yeah, looks like Engsfitz is going to pull out of that fight, thankfully for me. They're still sending over some more infantry that way. Yeah, Mordor still has a few things left over, but it's mainly just like the Mordor archers that actually had routed from my cavalry charges, but are now going to actually reform their lines. Also, if I forgot to mention it, the Mordor general also did die over there in that frontline fight. And here we've got Harad just beginning to skirmish us down, because he still has a lot of archers. And so now that the first phase of the battle has pretty much concluded, this is where things really start to get interesting. And especially, what I want you guys to notice here is the percentage. It's 39 to 66. So we're almost doubling them in terms of percentages. But still, it's definitely a worthwhile thing to just continue all the way through this battle, because it is extremely, extremely close at the end. Anyway, Minotaur Roman Guardians, looks like they're firing at something. Possibly those Riddermark archers, probably not the best target, but they are getting skirmished down themselves. However, their armor and shields should protect them for the most part. Still, you don't want your units to get shot more than necessary. Ooh, and over here, the Hiri Pang actually getting charged by what's left of these Numenorean Lancers. And yes, here, this is all that remains of Mirkwood's cavalry that he invested so much in. He's only got 3 IRR Brennan E9 left over. However, 1 is general. But, ooh, yeah, that's just so unfortunate. He spent so much money on his cav, and he's only got this left over. And I don't even know how much damage he really did to Rohan. It looked like he did get some charges off on his archers. But in terms of Rohan's deadliest forces, that being the cavalry, and of course the Aewen's Shield Maidens, it looks like he did not do a ton of damage. Oh, actually, I take it back. Over here you can see the Red Shield of Erkenbrand actually looks like it has been completely taken out. And yeah, Sons of Yorl, Riddermark skirmishers in there as well. But yeah, that's very unfortunate, because the anti-cav IR... No, Roakban, Amon Link, that's what they're called. Those guys, those ones, the anti-cav units, those guys are actually, I believe, still cost 1,000 florins each. So that is very unfortunate that they really didn't pay for themselves. Fire arrows coming in here, that actually might cause a little bit of lag, honestly. I pushed forward my Eastern Hunters that did still have ammo left over, so they're going to be firing away at whatever they really feel like, because there's really not a big target, because there's no chance of me going, oh jeez, I can speak. There's no chance of me really being able to reach the Demons of the Desert or any of the other javelins, or any cavalry as well, so I'm pretty much just going to allow them to fire at whatever they want. Oof. There's still 30 Black Serpent Bodyguards, so there's still a ton of enemy cavalry. So with all the cav and javelins, they could still absolutely destroy us, because javelins should never be underestimated, honestly. Nor should AP Lancers, because the Riddermark Spears would honestly probably be able to hold us, or hold the main bulk of our infantry back for long enough for the Lancers and the Javelins just to absolutely shred through us, which is why we're kind of just sitting back right now and deciding on what we want to do and how we want to approach this, really. However, I believe it will pick up pretty shortly here. If it does not, I will go ahead and speed it up just for a second. But if we go ahead and take a look, you can see I've got 20 Innos Rim, I've got a few Horse Archers that are all out of ammo, and I've got my 23 Kumul's Dragon Knights. Yeah, honestly, a little bit of a surprising pick, bringing the Tharbad Warhammers and the Urnvorn Axemen against Harad, who does not have a lot of heavy armor, but still, they should do quite well for themselves regardless. I don't know what I'm doing here with the Balkoth Tribesmen, honestly, because I'm pretty sure they're out of ammo. Maybe I'm just trying to, if I remember correctly, I might have just been trying to get some arrows to fire at me. Just try to waste some of their arrows, because you can actually see my Eastern Hunters are also all out of ammo now. So they're basically just becoming meat shields for arrows. Southern Tower. Ooh, I'm gonna get charged by some Numenorean Lancers. However, I do have some cav over there. There's also some Dunedain Captains here, so it looks like this will be the end of those Numenorean Lancers. So, wow. Okay. Apparently they can just walk through. But actually, no. It's all good because they actually did in fact rout. I was gonna say I'd be very surprised and a little weirded out if they were able to just like walk through like that with only like 1 or 2 losses. But still, they did rout. So. It is fine, but yeah, ooh, looks like right here, the crossbows really did some deadly work on those spearmen. There's still the Helmingas. It looks like a lot of the standard Rittermark archers have been taken out. And it looks like his Helmingas are actually out of ammo now as well, so these guys are good and okay in terms of infantry once they're out of ammo. They're not great because they do have one-handed axes. They actually do have a slightly higher attack than most other archers, most other human or orc archers anyway. So they should do okay for themselves. They're not AP, but still they should do okay. Rittermark spears here, and again, also because of the fact they're on this hill, you don't really want to rush up against a hill like this because that will pretty much nullify our advantage that is Lengo's crossbows, because crossbows, of course, can't really arc their shots the same way that bows can. I decided to just go ahead and charge my Eastern Hunters here into these Mordor archers. I didn't really want to continue getting shot, especially because I believe he was targeting my Dragon Knights, which honestly they'd be able to tank that relatively well. However, this late in the battle they actually have taken a lot or they have gone through a lot of fighting, so their hit points are probably down by now. Miniscarithlon archers continuing to fire as well. These guys are pretty heavily armored. They've also got a shield bonus because of the shield on their back, so they should do quite well for themselves. However, it looks like that was their last volley, and they actually do turn into pretty fair infantry for themselves. So I've still got Scion Rim, I've still got some Flag Rim and some Gamp Rim, but again, I don't have a ton of infantry, because you can see this is pretty much all I've got left. I've still got a little bit of cavalry, but again, that Mordor rush was, while it was...
We have lost half our warriors.
Yeah, you can see I've only got half my men left, but anyway, while I was able to defeat his rush, it was still definitely deadly, and honestly, I think it would have been even worse for me if he had brought a second unit of Black Legion, because you can see how far they pushed forward, and I used all of my javelins on just that one unit. But anyway, you can see here, we're going to go ahead and just rush, and honestly, this is where things start getting bad, because we're rushing them on a hill, while they also have 5 units of javelins, as well as a bunch of AP Lancers. So, you're going to see things go very badly for us very quickly, honestly. He's rushing forward with his Miniscarithlon sharpshooters, and he's going to go ahead and try to get a volley off on those Lancers there, which is definitely a good target, because unlike the Horse Archers, the Lancers have a very, very deadly javelin, or very deadly charge. Well, I didn't see where... Oh, it actually looks like he is going to, in fact, target the Horse Archers, but still, should do a good amount of damage. And I was going to try to rush after some of his cavalry, but again, it did run away, of course. Miniscarithlon archers pushing forward. The javelin pikemen are also here as well. And here comes the Rohirrim cavalry. You can see the Heir of Aldburg. And I charge into those Greenwatch Garrison archers and actually probably instantly rout them. As well as the Sons of Errol are coming in now as well. So some First Marshal's bodyguard is also sneaking around the edge there. Rittermark spears have pretty much set up shop. Miniscarithlon archers. And here come the frickin' Beast Hunters. Oh my gosh. Javelins, dude. And unfortunately, because we have no skirmishers left over, we can't deal with the javelins in pretty much any other way than just to try to take the javelins on the chin and hope we have enough infantry to deal with the remaining forces. And it also does not help the fact that they've still got a lot of really deadly cavalry. But anyway, the Riddermark Spears are going to try to hold here with the help of some Dismounted Serpent Guard and some Champions of Nafarat. Here's the Beast Hunters. Looks like they're going to throw straight in my Gamprim. And that's pretty much going to be this unit of 106 down to pretty much 30, I would assume. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to me that while they are actually getting attacked, they can still throw javelins. I mean, granted, most of the unit is not getting attacked, but still a few of them are, which is rather interesting to me. But anyway, yeah, the Gamprim, just getting absolutely butchered here. The spears, you can see, are not going to hold for any length of time because they're just getting assaulted by everyone, honestly, right now. However, because we concentrated our forces so densely here, it is going to provide an excellent opportunity for these, for pretty much all units to go ahead and try to surround us. You can also see the cavalry is going to be able to have an absolute field day in our bike lines here. Thankfully, Lingo does have some pikes, but unfortunately I don't think he's going to be able to turn them around in time. I can see the Riddermark Spears really struggling. Also, here you can see some Elven Infantry. I've got my Dragon Knights. I've got some Siren going around the flanks. I was going to try to chase down some Cav, but then decided to change and go after these Muhad Beast Hunters, who are just peppering our lines right here with their javelins. And those Dragon Knights going around charging wherever they can. They're just going to try to cause as much damage as possible. Varag Mercenary Rider is going to try to slow down those Southron Lancers, but unfortunately going to get taken out very quickly. Over here we've got Hir E Peng and Aaronborn Axeman holding back the Rohirrim. Oh, and look at this. We got Demons of the Desert and the Hashari Stalkers, both body piercing, going to go to our flank here and be able to absolutely tear through us with their BP. Very unfortunate here because those arrows are going to be able to fly all the way through. And there's the Arid of Aldberg with their AP lances going straight to the back of our lines. My Lok Sirenrim going to face some Herodum Archers as well as some of these Beast Hunters and try to go into the backs of these Champions of Nafarat. But the Champions of Nafarat, very deadly, going to be able to deal with that pretty easily, honestly. Honestly, normally I would pull back with my Camille's Dragon Knights, but I wanted to stop these guys from firing for as long as possible, and because they are very elite, my Camille's Dragon Knights will probably still be able to win that fight. And over here you can see, because of the body piercing, the javelins, all these dead bodies here, that's because of the Demons of the Desert. Minotaur Roman Guardian is going to try to go after those Demons of the Desert. There's also the First Marshal's bodyguard here, just absolutely destroying. As you can see, the Mirkwood forces are actually routing, and then again the body-piercing javelins. And just like that, there goes all the pikes, all the Elven infantry, and everything like that. Body piercing is still really, really insane. I'm gonna try to do whatever I can. I've got my Lok Flagger. I'm gonna try to go after those First Marshal's bodyguard just for a little bit anyway. Lumos Dragon Knights down to only 13. Over here we are slightly winning. We've got the captains and the Tharbad Warhammers over here. But again, here comes a bunch of cavalry as well. So things you can see are definitely turning against us very quickly. Especially because of the frickin' BP. I mean, look at this. Those Minotaur Roman Guardians just absolutely wasted into nothing by those Demons of the Desert with their body-piercing javelins. I mean, they are expensive and they have 0 armor. Honestly, this is like the perfect situation for them. Because we don't have any skirmishers to deal with them. Normally, the best way to deal with the Demons of the Desert is to try to shoot them down because they have almost 0 armor. Actually, they might have 0 armor. We do have a couple hit points to help out with that, but still. And you see, there goes the general, but unfortunately for us, at the current time, the only units that he has left are units that pretty much wouldn't route anyway, like the Champions of Nafarat. Southern Lancers aren't going to route unless they stay in melee against something they don't like.
We will leave nothing behind but widows and orphans.
And I believe my Dragon Knights are, they're trying to go after the Shield Maidens because the Shield Maidens still have not thrown a single volley themselves. And things are just really, really going downhill for us, honestly. You can see the percentages that were so lopsided are now within 10%. First Marshal Bodyguard are also going after my 12 Camille's Dragon Knights, and honestly this will probably be the end of them. My Dragon Knights, that is. We're breaking through a little bit here, but honestly, still not looking good for us. Those Beast Hunters and the Champions of Nafarat still doing very well for themselves, mainly because of the constant charges of these Blackstone bodyguards. And the crossbows are still constantly firing, but again, because of the amount of cavalry that is around. They're just taking tons and tons of losses. Here comes some Hiri off, and I'm going to commit my sign room over here. I'm going to try to level things out, but again, because the javelins are so deadly, all of our stuff here is just going to get pretty much instantly wasted. And you can see the Demons of the Desert somehow still have ammo. Still going to be able to throw their javelins. Maybe not, actually. I don't think they did. They threw them. You can see a lot of those Greenmarch Garrison, as well as the Dunedain Captains going down. There's only 7 of them left. One of them is the General. And here's my Camille's Dragonite. Only 8 of them remaining. Signer, I'm going to try to silence these Awen's Shield Maidens. And still, the Cavalry just constantly running around. There's the Gwathlo trackers back there. But yeah, things not looking good for us. The Rimmark Spears running around. Most of these Spearmen have been taken out, but there's still a few of them there. Helmingas, there's the Hishari Stalkers, and here's the Awen's Shield Maidens just absolutely wrecking us. Oh, not a good situation. Got my Camille's Dragonites charging into those Champions of Nafarat, going to do a pretty decent amount of damage. Looks like the Beast Hunters have finally routed. The Miniscarithalan Sharpshooters. Oh, you know, they're doing a good job, but unfortunately, because of how many Lancers there are, they're taking a lot of losses, and they're not being allowed to fire for long enough to cause a huge difference. Champions of Nafarat, even though they're only at 22, they're still going to be able to hold back a lot of our infantry. Over here, my sign room down to 52 because of the constant javelin volleys. And there goes Rohan's general. So far, I believe 3 or 4 generals have fallen. My general is still alive. I believe all of the Team 1 generals are still alive. But again, because at this point, the units that Rohan has left over aren't going to rout. Like the Awen Shield Maidens, they have pretty good morale. You can see there's only 67 of them left, but they're still only shaken. So at this point, even though the general has fallen, even though a lot of the generals have died, the units that are left over aren't going to rout anyway. So it's just a really annoying situation. Over here, it looks like most of the Champions of Nafarat have been taken out. And there goes my general, along with all of my Camille's Dragonites, because they were really quite neatly, actually, pincered here by the Southron Lancers. And some Spearmen? No, some Demons of the Desert, actually. So yeah, that's going to be the end of my men. And because of that, that is going to cause a huge rout among the few troops that I have remaining. Mainly, it's just going to be here with the Gamprim. That's pretty much all I have left. There goes the Mirkwood infantry. Champions of Nafarat pretty much dealt with, but again, they were able to do their job because here come the Awen Shield Maidens as well as the Demons of the Desert. The Tharbad Warhammer is actually thinking about routing. And again, getting ever closer, 90 to 93, so within 3%, and it's, as you can see, getting pretty close to the end of the battle. Pike's going to try to hold back these Awen Shield Maidens, and again back here the Miniscarithalan Sharpshooters just getting hammered left and right by the enemy cavalry. They're actually thinking about routing here, and if the Cardolan General dies, then they will most definitely rout. Oh yeah, they're trying to do their best, but again, because we had so little cavalry by the end of the battle, also a huge mistake that was made on my part. I actually staked all of my 20 leftover Inas Rim right here on the pikes, or stakes rather, that Cardolan had set up, so that was a huge mistake, because those guys would have been very helpful at protecting my Camille's Dragonites and just causing damage elsewhere. They still wouldn't have been able to cause a huge difference in the enemy cav just because of how much they had left over, but they would have been able to help try to take out the Awen Shield Maidens and Demons of the Desert. I'm going to push forward here with my Gamprim, but again, I don't think it's going to be enough, honestly. I don't. Against the Shield Maidens, they should do quite well for themselves. But here comes some more cavalry. The Sharpshooters are only 33. Here we've got a very thin line, just barely holding on, and also with the Lancers back here, constantly giving us charges, and some flanking Helmgas. Looks like this is pretty much going to be it. My Gamprim are actually thinking about routing, just taking a charge from the 1st Marshal's bodyguard. Here come the Hishari Stalkers. Not only are they BP Rangers, but they also are really good in melee. Well, not really good, but good in melee. And there goes a lot of units routing, and that will honestly be pretty much it. You can see my Gamprim going to try to hold for as long as they can. There's some Sharpshooters back there, but that will...
Our warriors have turned into old women and run.
And because my general's dead, there goes the last of my troops, and it's going to pretty much be the end of this battle. Except, honestly, I think there's still a little bit left over, but not much. I think there's mainly just a few remnants of units. Like, I still think there's a few Dunedain captains with Cardolan's general around here somewhere. The Sharpshooters have all been taken out. Looks like, yeah, they're actually routing. I know Mirkwood's general is still alive. because he's in those IR Brennan E9 wave or something like that. Again, I can't ever remember those names unless I'm actually like looking at them. But yeah, very unfortunate. That's definitely not how to deal with enemies that are on a hill with way more cavalry than you and also a ton of javelins. That is definitely not how you do it. Honestly, looking back, the main reason why we lost, I would think, is because of the Demons of the Desert here. Perfectly set up here by new player 195. And were able to just cause all of this damage they pretty much did completely by themselves with their body-piercing javelins. Honestly, probably the best way that we could have done this is if we had spread out way more, because then we wouldn't have been so blobbed up, especially on this flank over here. We wouldn't have been so blobbed up that the javelins would have caused a huge amount of damage. However, like all things, it is not the perfect that wouldn't have been the perfect thing anyway, because of the fact that since our lines would have been more thinly spread out, that would have made it much easier for the enemy cavalry, the lancers in particular, to just absolutely wreck our lines constantly because of the fact they would be so much more, because of the fact they would be so much thinner. But still, nevertheless, it was still an incredibly close battle. I can see 95 to 94 currently, so extremely close and super fun. Big thank you to all of the players involved. I really enjoyed it. I liked playing Rune, honestly. I think they handled that rush over here rather well. The main thing I was disappointed about, well, actually no, honestly, I think the main reason why we lost was, yeah, we just had kind of a bad strategy towards the end there. But still, like all battles, there's just a lot of chaos going on, not super great communication. But still, there goes Thranduil, now dying. And there goes Cardinal and General. So funnily enough, all 6 generals, every single general died. Very fun. Actually, that's kind of cool. All 6 generals died. Anyway, for my team, I was able to get 3,000 kills, but that's mainly just because of the fact that I was facing Mordor, and he did in fact rush me. The next highest kills on my team went to Lengo, followed by Spartan. The most kills for the Team 2 went to new player, closely followed by Engsfitz. Thorn also did pretty well for himself as well. We can take a quick look at the exact kills. Also, something I should mention is that the Demons of the Desert, I think new player said, had like 500 kills, which is really insane. You can actually see my Camille's Dragon Knights also got just about that same amount. My Signrim did okay. Well, this unit did not do good. That's because they were facing the Olag High. The second unit did pretty well for themselves. Eastern Hunters did their job. 2 Flagrim did good, but the third did not, again, because they were facing the Olag High. The Alkoth Tribesmen did really well for themselves, and the Gamprim also did really good, mainly because they didn't get pushed through, except for maybe this first unit there. Clan Chiefs also did good. The Innisrim also got 162 kills. The Horse Archers, unfortunately, didn't do too well for themselves, and my Crossbowmen also did well in addition. But that'll pretty much be the end of this video. There's going to have to be a lot of fancy funerals for all 6 dead generals. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please comment, like, and subscribe. If you did not, just tell me what I did wrong, and I'll be sure to fix it for the next video. So farewell wherever you fare, till your eyes receive you, at your journey's end.